Okay, we are back live again. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to BWTM Sports. We've got another live and exclusive interview, this time with the man himself, Ian Lewison, in a crunch matchup against Joyce. Ian, how you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. I'm doing good.
It's great to have you back. Ian, for those people who don't know who you are, give them a bit overview as to your record and a little bit more about yourself.
Basically, if they don't know me, go on YouTube, type in Ian Lewis, and you'll see, and you get informed.
Okay, what's your record, Ian?
Tell you sure, I think it's about 12, and I've had about 12 and 2, yeah, something like that.
Okay, so you have still trained by Don Charles, or it's different? No, set different.
Yeah, still.
How is it with all done down there?
Same old. You know, everything's done diligently, and every aspect of everything's looked over intricately, and that's just the way he prepares and he does things. That's just how Don is.
Great. First question that's been at the back of my head ever since this fight has been announced. David Haye has made a big thing about we've given Ian Lewison time to prepare, given him 11 weeks or 10 weeks to prepare, so he's got plenty of time to prepare. He didn't get that time to prepare for the Dillian Whyte fight. Let's go back a bit. How much time did Dillian Whyte fight?
3.5 weeks.
3.5 weeks.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was 3.5. Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, it
was 3.5 weeks. Yeah.
And what was your condition like before the 3.5 weeks? What had you been doing?
No, the truth was I fought in China, probably about that. But then going into the China fight, I had injuries, and then after that fight, I was actually taking time off because nothing was scheduled. So I was trying to head, and then I got that corner, and I was injured at the time of the fight. But you know what it is.
So when you took that fight, was it a case of, well, you know, it's an opportunity, I fight on Sky, whatever, or was it just what was the situation? What was the thinking behind you taking that fight?
No, obviously, if I take a fight, I want to go into it with the intention to win it. And the truth is, I thought, you know what, it's an opportunity that presented itself, which was a British opportunity up until then. So you know what, even though the situation wasn't ideal, it was one of them ones that you weigh up and you look at it and you think just yourself, an ideal situation, but not every situation that presents itself is going to be ideal. So it's a matter of you saying to yourself, you know what, let me take this opportunity and try to.
And when you face Dillian Whyte, what's your thinking about him as a fighter and as a fellow boxer?
Well, basically, as a fighter, he's doing what he's doing at the end of the day. He's very good at using his attributes to his advantage. The biggest puncher, noisy, the most skillful, but what he does well, and he uses his advantages, which is his fitness and consistently punching. He does that, and that works for him.
Where do you see him in the world ratings in terms of now he's in the WBC? His promoter getting him a fight with Deontay Wilder, Joseph Parker. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, I think if he gets an opportunity to fight for the title, that would be a big accomplishment on his behalf.
Okay, and the fight between himself and Hellenius, how does that go for you?
Me personally, I think he beats Hellenius.
Okay, fair enough. So let's get to your fight.
He'll beat Hellenius. Hellenius ain't what he used to be.
Right. Okay. So you're.
No, I'm saying Dillian Whyte.
Oh.
I mean, Hellenius, isn't what he used to be. Dillian Whyte beats him.
Okay. You've seen Sexton and Cornish fight for the title, and obviously now Sexton's the champion. Is Sam Sexton on your radar?
Yeah, because he's got the title now, so obviously I'm just looking to get Joyce out of the way, and then hopefully next fight out we can have Sexton.
There was talk about yourself at one point. What was all that about?
Well, it was going to happen. We were going to fight on the Kell Brook card in where was it? Kell Brook fought in the stadium was supposed to fight on that one. Then obviously the Commonwealth title fight came up for him, and he took that on, which you can't blame him for.
How do you think he does in his rematch against Leroy Thomas?
I never watched the first fight, but if he's gonna learn from his first fight, he would have went back and watched it, and he would have changed things where it weren't working for him, and hopefully he could have learned and adapted, and then come back and. Okay,
so is David Haye telling the truth about you getting 10 or 11 weeks to prepare for Joe Joyce?
But I think it was about 10 weeks. Yeah.
So is this the longest you've had to prepare for a camp for a fight?
No, almost by this stage, and honestly, by the 6th week, I was like, Jesus, when's this fight coming?
Wow.
It actually seemed like it was so long.
So in terms of the 10-week camp that you've had, how is that? How is there a difference in your weight? I mean, people would assume your weight would be different. Talk to us about that.
No, but the weight in itself is going to be different in terms of that. The body will look different in terms of body fat percentage, and actual just may come in at a certain weight, but the difference in the body in itself will tell, because even though the weight may be at a certain weight, the body fat percentages.
Okay. Joe Joyce is the man, the juggernaut, and his debut fight is going to be taking you on. Do you feel disrespected in any way?
I don't feel disrespected. You know what? A fight is a fight, and at the end of the day, his camp feel confident that they can have it. So you know what? Presented me with an opportunity to get on Dave TV and showcase myself. So I just see it as that. So I'm not offended. I thank him for it.
What do you think Joe Joyce brings to this fight?
Basically, everyone talks about his fitness, how he's fit, he's this, he's that. But the fact is, he's only fit over 5. That is proven. Anything over 5 is uncharted territory for him. So we can't turn around and say he's a fit 10-round fighter. He's never done it. Never actually been on an occasion where he's had to go out and do 6 rounds, maybe 8 rounds, 10 rounds. He's never done it. So we can only say over 5 is good. Over 5 is uncharted territory.
Do you take into consideration the world, the stuff he was doing before he turned pro?
You can't not, because at the end they don't give away Olympic medals, so you've got to take into account the fact that his accomplishments. So he's got a very, very accomplished amateur career. So
what does Ian Lewison have to do to stop the juggernaut?
Do what the other 2 guys have done previously in his career and put him in his arse in the first.
So
he's been stopped before.
Well, David Haye says he's got a great chin, he's got a great work ethic, he can do backflips, he can do this, he can do that.
Yeah, well, on the boxing ring, avoid a punch by doing a backflip.
Not yet.
Yeah, there you go.
So you're not.
His physical attributes, i.e., doing capoeira kicks and that stuff, ain't gonna help him in a boxing ring.
So you're not impressed. You're not impressed with what David Haye had to say about Joe Joyce.
I'm not impressed at all, because Joe Joyce himself, the man's got no charisma whatsoever. He's just like, you know what, you can do an interview with a cardboard cut out of him, you'll probably get more conversation in the background. But than actually doing an interview with him himself, because the man's got no charisma whatsoever. He's just stiff.
Forward to fighting Joe Joyce then?
No, of course, 100%. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
So when people say, well, I won't say unheard of, but it's certainly a dangerous fight to fight you. To fight you. You're heavy-handed. People. Why have they taken Ian Lewison as the first fight?
Because, you know what, they're in a situation where they can't lose. They turn around, they take me as their first opponent. They win. They've done what no other person before has done, which is taking a top 10 rank. That's 5, and they've done a master stroke of genius in matchmaking and promoting their geniuses. That they go in there and he turn around and says, you know what, we took a chance, it didn't work for us, but Joe Joyce can come again, and they'll go back to the drawing board and then rematch with lesser caliber guys and rebuild him. So the truth is, they can't lose either. They can only win because if they get the win over me, they've catapulted themselves in the English scene.
I know you talked to me the last time we did a major interview together. You talked about Huey Fury and said you wanted to end a Huey Fury gravy train. Do you?
Yeah, do you know what? Tell you the truth, that Huey Fury and Joseph Parker fight. Listen, that if anyone suffers from him, put that on, I guarantee you'll be sleeping within a few minutes.
Is that a fight that you would entertain in the future?
Yeah, against Huey Fury.
Okay, so in terms of this fight, what's the thing you're hearing a lot over social media about Joyce and what do you read?
Well, basically, how fit he is and this and that. But the truth is, anything that's being said is never being said by Joe, either his manager or David himself. Like I said, Joe don't talk. The man just stands in the background. If he does an interview and you're watching the interview, it's good. And then someone else, i.e. David or his manager, and then Joe's behind them, even though it's an interview with Joe or about Joe and for Joe's, and then they ask him a question, he's speaking over their shoulder. But yet the interview is always someone else leading the interview. It's never him.
So do you give Joyce any credit for taking you on in his first fight then?
No, of course you got to, because at the end he's done. And then you got to put credit on him and say, yeah, do you know what? He's definitely done.
One of the things
taking a fight like that, so
one of the things people say about Ian Lewison is, God, that guy's got so much talent, but only if he get his weight down, only if he trained well, only if he did this. When people say those things about you and your career, what's your response to that?
If only I bought shit, the price was cheaper.
You've got a very dry sense of humour, haven't you, Ian? I guess you've heard it all before, I guess. That's what it is.
No, do you know, life and everything you do, no matter what you do, people always going to have an opinion. No matter what decision you make, 50% of people say you're right and 50% of people say you're wrong. So if you try and do what things people expect you to do to make them happy, there's always someone that's disappointed. So therefore, do you know what? Just do what makes you happy and live the life you want to live.
What's the most common misunderstood or the misconception about Ian Lewison via the media?
I think, well, do you know, lots of things I've heard is like me as a person, I'm a very laid-back person, and that's just my personality. And it's like I've seen out face-offs and stuff when they see me and the person looking at face-off, oh, he's lost the fight already because but that's just me. I'll be with the opponent, I'll look at him, and I may look a certain way, but that doesn't mean I don't come to fight. No, you've been around me, you know the kind of character I am. I'm just a laid-back person, like.
You're a great guy to chill with, so there's no doubt. I mean, you've got a great sense of humor, and you've got a great sense of humor. You're a great guy to be around. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. The fact is, I've been and spent time with you, so there's no doubt about that. But other people always like to get a boxer's take on things, because you know that there's lots of editing doing, there's lots of things being cut out, so it makes people look one way. I bring people on the show, fighters on the show in particular, I like them to just say what they've got to say and how they feel about things. So there's no excuses afterwards as to how people perceive a fighter.
But you know, the truth is, I don't really care what people's perception of me is. I don't use that to validate what I do, and I live the life I live. So it's either they, at the end, I'm putting myself out there for them to watch me and get entertained by me. If they're not entertained, not watching me. If they're entertained by me, so be it, and good luck to them to carry on watching. But you know what? It's not an issue of mine for me to try and make everyone like me.
True word said. Now I've got people in the room, so if you've got questions for Ian Lewison, please ask those questions now. We can't keep them out on the phone to get his beauty sleep. So let's see the people in the room what they've got to say. Okay, Triple D says, ask Ian what happened to Puppetmaster.
Basically, what had happened, we'd gone out to, where was it supposed to be? It was supposed to be in, anyway, I'd flown out there anyway, we'd gone out there, everything was done. But basically, the British Boxing Board had not a report out there. So according to the medical board, the German medical board, I wasn't physically fit to fight because I was sent out. So it just put the fight off.
Well, it's a bit unprofessional, isn't it, from their part? Is it not?
That's the kind of luck I mean it happens to.
What about the Eddie Chambers fight?
That's the one that I was training for, and I had a knee injury at the time. Because if you notice, I was out for a little while.
Yeah.
When I did come back and fight on the Tommy Dove show, I had my knee strapped up.
Let's see what people say. Gorkruj asks the question: is Lewison in the best condition of his pro career, given the...
No, most definitely. I've definitely gone about it with a different approach. I'm in good shape now. I'm in a good enough shape to get the job.
Is Dillian White a hard puncher? I mean, you mentioned it before, but how hard a puncher is Dillian White?
I wouldn't say he's a big one puncher, but he's not. No, he isn't a big one puncher, but he's consistent. He consistently throws shots. But in terms of the shot, he's not that type of fighter that will end the fight with going in there straight away and just putting one in your chin and you're going down. No, he's not that type of fighter. He'll probably win as the rounds go through the consistency of the punches, maybe retire you on your stool or beat you later on, but he's not a big one puncher.
Of David Haye's thought process that basically the juggernaut's going to steamroll you, and it's like, well, you know, we're just going to Joyce is going to knock Lewison out, and then we're going to move on from it.
Does Joyce have a knockdown?
According to David Haye, he believes that you're going to get knocked out, and then he's going to move on.
No, do you know the truth of the matter is, I'm going to beat the puppet, and then I want the puppet master. I want the man who's let the puppet sit on. The matter is, I'm going through the puppet to get the master.
So you're basically saying you're going to do Ian Lewison, and then you're after David Haye.
I'm going to do Joyce, then I'm going to go for David Haye. I think that'll be an interesting fight. We've had sparring sessions together, numerous, and it went one-sided. So it would make for an interesting fight.
So you're basically...
Obviously, he's got a belly fight to... Hopefully after that we can do it.
You really want David Haye? What is it has now made you turn your direction to David Haye? What does he have to offer?
Yeah, but he is David Haye, and the truth is he's called out his boy. He's for his boy, so you know what? I would oblige him by knocking his boy out, and then do you know what? I'll give him a fight. It goes from there.
But David Haye says the reason why him and Joyce don't spar is because Joyce has come forward and it will come to blows, and he doesn't want to, you know, he wants Joyce and he doesn't want Joyce doing damage to him. What are your thoughts on that?
Basically, do you know what it is? I think it's a case of so much that, and I just think it's the fact that if anything happens, say for example Joyce had the day of his life and he knocked David out, it's going to look kind of bad, isn't it? The apprentice is knocking out the master, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't sound too good, does it? What did you make of Joyce's thoughts on Stavern? We'll be talking to him after we speak to you. He said that he wouldn't fast track Joyce, and Joyce said that Stavern was a punching bag. What are your thoughts on it?
He said he wouldn't fast track Joyce.
And said he wouldn't fast track Joyce, and then Joyce said that he was basically punching up Stavern like a human punching bag.
But then there's his side, there's Stavern side, and then there's the truth. So the only fact is, everyone has a version of events, but it's down to if it was filmed, then everyone can come from it because everyone's got an opinion. And it's like, do you know what? Yeah, me and you could be standing outside of the road, side by side.
Yep.
We'll witness an accident together. The police will come and ask my version of events. You'll give your version of events. Even though we're standing in the same place, they won't be the same. They'll differ. So it's just down to perspective. One person may believe and then Stavern turned around and says, you know what, I put it on him every day, but it's down to perspective, and if a person's got, you're going to assume that they got the better of it.
Okay, well, we'll be talking to Stavern straight after we speak to you. Mr. Skeptical says, Joe Joyce looks so uncoordinated, he's got a shit defense. What are your thoughts to that?
We're going to find out tomorrow. You're going to see. I'm going to get through it, and I'm going to creep through it, and I'm going to put one easily down, and we're going to see him put to sleep.
Gorguja says, does Lewison think that he could beat White if he had more than a few weeks to train and prepare?
100%, because when I was firing, through the sparring sessions we've done in the gym, I believe that I've won. And do you know what? I believe with adequate timing, it would have been a different fight, because you could see it yourself. That was me with injuries at the heaviest I've ever been in, yeah, and I genuinely believe I gave a good account of myself. Let me ask you this now, yeah? You watched the fight, even though I weren't in the best of shape for the fight. How would you say? What would you say of my performance?
I thought you did well considering all those things you've just told me.
Exactly, and that was me probably at 4. Imagine I was given time and I was injury free and I was allowed to get into much better shape, allowed to get to 80% or 70% or even 100%.
Would you oblige a rematch with Dillian White?
Of course, so, because you remember that's a blemish on my record, and that's a take it in the boxing game. Yeah, do you know the hardest losses are the one to do with is the one where you know you could have beat someone, but because of whatever reason it was, you never got the win. They're the
Okay.
Fair enough. A man goes in there and he knocks you out, and you think to yourself, you know what? And he genuinely knocks you out with a good punch. You can live with that because you know what, you tried your best, and you know for a fact that he got the better of you on the day. But when you know you can beat someone, but through whatever reason, they're the hardest ones to deal with.
Derek Chisora. I heard different stories about your sparring session with Derek Chisora as he was preparing for the Dillian White fight. That you really put it on Derek and got the better of him. Other stories were that Derek put it on you and got the better of you. What was the hard you saw in sparring sessions?
All right, do you know the truth? Yeah, the truth is, yeah, it's not every day that when you and someone spar, you're going to get the better of them every day. Some 2 days in a week, if we spar 3 times, I may get the better of him twice. The next week, now I may not be feeling 100% par. He may get the better of me 2 times, and I get the better. A real reason to say, oh, every single session I got a better of him, or every single session he got a better of me. It's just one of them things. On the day you turn up there, do you know what? Feeling good today, I've had a good day, boom, I get the better of him. The next day he's not 100%, I get the better of him again, and then the next time he's feeling good, I'm feeling okay, get the better of me. It's just one of them things.
Yeah, well, that's beautifully explained.
It doesn't really count in that sense. Yeah, it doesn't really count in that sense. I don't really keep note of it like that, because it's not the fight.
Okay, when you hear stories about Anthony Joshua getting dropped or hurt or sparked in sparring, are those things that British fans should be concerned of, or is that something to do with somebody taking liberties, or is there something that people should be concerned of? Oh. Oh. Ian Lewison there. I think he'll be back in a moment. Let's just see if we can get Ian Lewison back on.
Hello.
Everything okay, Ian?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I dropped out of reception.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, right. So we're talking about with Anthony Joshua and how much people should read into those sparring stories. Is that something we should read into, or something we should ignore?
You should read into too much, because you know what? It's like people. We go back through history and we look at people like Marvin Hagler. We turn around. In my opinion, he's one of the greatest boxers ever, because of the fact that he was a boxer, fighter, southpaw, orthodox. He was the most all-round fighter. He got dropped a few times in sparring. But the fact is, in sparring, the reason you're vulnerable to getting dropped is because you're practicing new things. You're not going out and doing what you can do. It's when you're practicing things you can't do that you leave yourself vulnerable to get caught by punches. So I wouldn't look too much. You ain't gonna see Anthony Joshua going out there and saying, "Do you know what? Let me try and go southpaw. I've never tried it before." On the fight, he's never gonna say, "Oh, let me try going southpaw now." When he's an awful lot for inspiring, he's gonna stick to what he knows and what he does and what's allowed him to get to where he's got to.
That's fair play. That's fair enough. So tomorrow night, what can fans expect of Ian Lewison?
They're gonna expect me to go in there on a rampage.
Somebody, a Guguja asked a question. He says, "I hope that wasn't the pizza delivery man calling him." Ian, what? Go ahead. What's your ultimate goal, Ian? Is it to earn as much money as possible, or is it a challenge for a world title?
No, it's obviously it's a challenge for a world title. That remains without doubt the main focus and the end goal.
Is being or laid back perceived as not caring, or is being laid back just taking things in your own stride, would you say?
But if I wasn't so laid back and I was more anxious or more fired up, people turn around and they could perceive that as me being arrogant. And I say, "Oh, that guy's arrogant and he thinks highly of himself." And it's just down to perspective. I believe at the end of the day, people are what they are, not everyone's the same. So we just approached everything.
What's your ideal fighting weight, Ian?
I would say ideally about 18-4.
This.
If you're talking in the ideal world, that would be it. Yeah, in the ideal world, that's what way I believe. If I was like that way, I'd definitely. Yeah.
Do you think that is in? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a sports scientist, but is that in balance with the weight? Or are you, Ian?
6'2".
Okay, so do you think that 18 stone 4 is in balance with proportion with you?
I believe that works well for the height. Yeah.
Because some would say, okay, well, he could get down to 17 stone 5 or something like that. We'll get him in more faster. And what are your thoughts on that?
I believe at the end of the day, you know what? If I got down to 17 stone, you'll just see a framework coming in there because for me to get down to that, I wouldn't necessarily be strong at the weight. I may get there, but I wouldn't be strong at it, and I wouldn't be fit at it because of the drain to get there.
So 18 stone 4. So tomorrow night, you've done the weight, or you've done the weigh-in already today, I would assume, right?
Yeah, we've done it. Yeah. It was okay. It is what it is, and it's just no day at the office.
Looked into JoJo's eyes. What did you see?
I saw a man that was told by his boss, "Go out there and do this." I didn't see a man that picked whose opponent was picked for him.
And David Haye, in his movements around you, how is he? How does he interact with you as promoter?
Well, to tell you the truth, I've known David for years, and I've known him. We grew up together around South London. Obviously, because I'm fighting his guy now. We ain't gonna be the same. We're still gonna be civil and say hello and goodbye, but we ain't conversating too much.
Okay, it's one of them ones. What do you do for cardio work? Cardio with Don Charles. So
I run to McDonald's. That's all I do.
Do yourself any favors, do you? Okay. Does Ian Lewison coach and nutritionist, or does he take care of that all himself?
No, I've got a strength and conditioning coach, and I've got for me by a company that make them. So I just use them up and eat.
Okay. I'm going to close, but before a couple more questions, as if I haven't asked enough questions as it is. Ian, what do you do in your spare time outside of boxing? What do you do? Are you a clubber? Are you listen to Mozart?
do for enjoyment, yeah?
Yeah, outside of boxing, yeah, outside of punching, beating people up. What else do you do?
Tell you the truth, I'm more a movie person. I would go to the movies, watch movies. I like to watch series on TV.
Yeah.
I'm not really an out person. I'd stay in the house and watch movies or watch series and stuff like that.
Are you a guy that watches YouTube videos and watches boxing and all the latest interviews and stuff?
No, I don't watch boxing. I don't.
Do you watch anything when people?
Someone that watches fight.
So you don't go into YouTube and type in your name and say Ian Lewison and.
No, not really. No.
One of those guys who hit the.
I don't watch boxing.
You're not one of those guys who hits the dislike button then.
No.
Oh.
If I go on YouTube, it's not boxing. I watch other videos, all different types of stuff.
Okay. Okay. Let me think. Does Ian Lewison watch The Only Way is Chelsea?
Tell you the truth, I'm not a fan of that. Before, it's not something that too interests me now.
I didn't think so. Mr. Skeptical says Don Charles has always said Ian Lewison as the beater, but he hasn't taken the game's boxing seriously. His lack of success in the program is entirely up to him. How do you respond to that, Mr. Lewison?
I believe that even when I left school, I'd gone to college and studied. Listen, I'll be a doctor by now, yeah.
At this rate, I'm gonna vote for you to become the next Prime Minister of this country. Your answers are great. Okay, one final question I must ask you. Oh, people are asking, when are you? People are asking when the fight is. I can't believe they're asking the question. When is the fight, Ian?
When is the fight?
People asking.
Tune in next week Saturday.
David's not going to be very happy with you. You've got to promote the fight, remember? The fight's tomorrow night, people. Live and exclusive on Dave TV. How do you feel about being on Dave TV?
It's not different to or ITV or anything. It's just the same thing, and there's just a different broadcaster, but it's the same thing.
But it's a comedy channel. That's people. That's the Dave's on a comedy channel. So
yeah, but it will be a comedy fight after they see the way he falls, the position he lands in.
You really want to do the business on Joyce, don't you? You really want to rip up the script.
100%.
What ring entrance will you be using to the ring?
I'm not even sure, to tell you the truth. I don't know. I'm still.
Mama say knock you out. Mama say knock you out. It's got to be that.
Maybe. No, you've given me the idea. I may just choose that.
Yeah, there was one thing. Final question: would you ever be a pundit on Sky? Or do you think you're too straight?
Yeah, I believe that I'll be a good one. Mix just the right amount of humour with.
But hold on. Yeah, but on Sky, you do know that you probably have to say what they want you to say, as opposed to saying what you'd like to say.
I understand that, but at the end of the day, you're still given free rein to voice your opinion.
Would you ever consider yourself to be a company man, Ian? Would you ever consider yourself to be a company man?
In what aspect do you mean? In what sense?
Well, you know, just do as the company says and toe the line.
Well, everyone can do that to an extent, but it's a matter of how far you're willing to go to keep them happy.
Adam Scott says he'd need a sentence for fraud before they would consider him for one of their pundits. Adam Scott says he would need a sentence for fraud before they consider him being one of their pundits. Oh, we've got a legend in the room by the name of Blood Boxing returns. Blood Boxing, big shout out to my brother there from the States. Godfather of the YouTube boxing channels. Good to see you in the room. Blood, do you have a question for Ian Lewison before we finish? Ian, do you have a question to the boxing fans?
Nah, not really a question, no. People stay tuned and watch tomorrow.
Okay. All right. I'm just waiting to see if Bloodbox is going to type anything, because I really would like to see if he's got a question. This. So is there anything different you and Don Charles have said to one another going into this fight with Joe Joyce?
Anything different?
Yeah, because, you know, you look at the Dillian White fight and you look at other fights and you'll say, well, we didn't prepare properly, or we need to work on this, or you need to work on more body shots or more headshots or more work rate. Is there anything in particular you've worked on this time around?
Every fight with each opponent, you have a strategy in which you've adapted with your training. Your trainer would study the person, and he'll see strong points and he'll see abilities in them. And it's the trainer's job to formulate a plan and turn around and say, listen, I've been watching him and I believe this is where he's vulnerable or your strengths lie. And any good trainer will point out them facts. And you as a fighter, you employ a trainer. Your trainer works for you. So you employing a trainer, that means you're entrusting him you're entrusting him to hold your life in his hand. When you're in the ring, he can stop the fight or he can let it go on. So you're entrusting him to make them important calls on your behalf, seeing things that obviously you can't see from an outside perspective. So if you give him that trust, you must believe and you're going to have faith in his opinion.
Okay. So here it is now. Final prediction, Ian Lewison versus Joe Joyce. What's the prediction, Ian?
I predict a knockout.
You ain't going 4 rounds. How long is this fight, by the way?
It's a 10-rounder.
Okay. So you ain't going 4 rounds, and
yeah, I'm telling you that if the fight, if the bell for the 5th round goes, if you ever hear the bell go 5, I want to get off my stool and walk out the ring and walk back to my change room myself.
I tell you something, Ian, you do come up with some one-liners, I tell you. You really do come up with them. DJ Slick says, oh, Mr. Lewison, I really hope you do it tomorrow and pull off the shock win to the casuals, but we all know that you're underrated and they've taken you lightly for his first fight. I wish you well, and I'm a big fan. That's what DJ Slick says to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so that's it. The floor's yours. We're about to end this interview, or this conversation. Really, it's not an interview. Do you have a final word to the fans?
Oh, let's go on YouTube, study fights if you can. Tune in tomorrow, watch the fight, or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.
Okay.
And you can keep up these developments in and around the Ian Lewison project.
Okay, the Ian Lewison project. What is your Twitter handle, please, Ian?
Twitter. Ian, I-A-N, Lewison, Lewison.
Facebook, same thing?
Same thing, Facebook, same Instagram.
Okay. Ian Lewison, my dear friend, thank you so much for talking to BWTM Sports. All the best, champ, and good luck tomorrow night.
Cheers, thank you.
So there you have it there. Live and exclusive. Ian Lewison has said he doesn't just want to knock out the puppet who's Joe Joyce. He wants to knock out so he wants David Haye after he fights Joe Joyce. Wow, he believes he's going to knock Joe Joyce out. And who could blame him? He's fit, he's strong, he's had possible. So we're going to have to see whether Ian Lewison can stop Joe Joyce inside the 4 rounds. It's going to be very interesting. My thoughts are this. Is untested in the pro ranks. Ian Lewison, we still haven't seen the best of him. He's had 11 weeks to prepare. If Joe Joyce is to score over Ian Lewison, that would be highly impressive, considering the fact that Lewison is going to be coming in the best shape of his career. If Joe Joyce can knock him out, performance, and if Lewison is able to get out there and knock Joe Joyce out, wow, well that's good. But if Lewison were to knock out Joe Joyce, What would people say? Oh, well, he wasn't a great amateur anyway, or he was a good amateur, but he's only an amateur. So, you know, I don't know what George. I don't know how much of a prediction you can make. I know that Joyce has got a poor defense, and I've always had a problem with fighters who've got poor defenses. You know, and in heavyweight boxing, you never know what could happen. I don't know. I really don't know how to pick the fight. So for me, I'm just going to sit back and watch and see. I know Lewison's going to go for it and he can punch. So we'll have to wait and see. Right. 15 minutes countdown. We'll be talking to Puppetmaster. Yes, Joyce. That sparring session. We'll be talking to him about the contract, which he told me that he signed earlier, but he'd only signed, according to boxing scene, only a day ago. So we're gonna have to talk to him about that as well. Obviously, his sparring sessions and, you know, the lead up to his rematch against Wilder, why there hasn't. And at midnight tonight, we will be talking to none other than the trainer of Gennady Golovkin, the trainer of Gassiev Sanchez. Yep, we'll be talking to the man, Abel Sanchez, who has a who's been trolling me on my phone. Maybe text messages here and there, and I said I'm gonna swerve any talk of Gennady Golovkin like a plague. And that's what Mr. Carl Froch once said, of Golovkin like a plague. Probably not good for me at the moment to talk about Gennady Golovkin with Abel Sanchez, because he's got one up on me if you listen to the last interview. So it should be fun. Ian Lewison, and we've got tomorrow, at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening, we'll be talking to James Ali Bashir. Uncle James is. And on Sunday, we have with us Rob Bravo Brandt, who fights in the World Boxing Super Series, Bremer, in the following Saturday. So we'll be talking to that as well. I'm talking to him as well. And we're going to try and fit in tomorrow and Sunday, we'll be talking to Derek James. For me, the trainer of the year. Derek James, Earl Spence, trainer of Charlo and trainer of Rob Brandt. So we'll be getting him as well. So 50 minutes back here, we'll be talking to YouTube boxing community's favorite boxer, Puppetmaster. I've read the comments of you can't stand Puppetmaster. I know it, I've read it, but we're still going to be talking to him. We've got access to the champ, so we'll be talking to him here, what he's got to say. And yes, I will be doing live commentary for for Joe Joyce versus Ian Lewison. We've definitely that, and we will do live commentary for that. So we've got some lineups coming up, and you can thank individual out there who to cut a very long story short, two individuals out there actually that put the fire up my arse and but that a little bit harder. Don't ever write me off. This is BWTM Sports. We're back in 50 minutes. See you soon.